Join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. Thank you. The minutes of the November 11th meeting are part of your packets and have been distributed in advance. I trust everyone has had an opportunity to review them. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Anyone?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second? Ms. Wishner seconds. Any discussion of the minutes, additions, deletions, corrections? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as submitted, say aye. Aye. Any contraries? The minutes are approved as submitted, and thank you, Morgan, for your work in preparing those minutes. At this point, we'll turn to announcements, and I have two before Mr. Taltone presents his. One is that I have a very important train to meet, pick up my daughter, so I will have to leave here at about 5:40 p.m. Hopefully, most of our meeting will have concluded by then. We also have to be out of this room by 6:15, as there is a commissioners' meeting this evening.
That meeting doesn't start till 7.
Well, I was handed a note by Mr. Doling saying we had to be out by 6:15, so
Maybe he's doing the rugs.
maybe. At any rate, the last thing is that, as we know, this is my last meeting as a member of this board, and certainly as president of the board. And it's been a wonderful experience these last 8 years working with all the past and present Board of Health members. I think together we have accomplished much, and I want to thank all of those past and present Board of Health members. If there is a more selfless and group of volunteers, individuals, and knowledgeable people, I would be hard-pressed to name them. So I want to thank each and every one of you for your help in getting what we have accomplished done. I want to thank also all the past and present Board of Health interns. So I think I, for one, and I know that all of you will concur in that judgment. We have learned a lot from them about teen health issues, and I'm looking forward to learning even more from this year's two interns from Radnor High School. As well, all past and present members of the Board of Commissioners under whom I have served, your support, especially Mr. Nagel, who is the current Board of Commissioners liaison to the Board of Health. Your support and what we have tried to get done has been invaluable, and I know that the future relationship between the commissioners and the Board of Health will continue to be a strong one. I want to also thank, although he is apparently unable to be with us this evening, Kevin Kane, who is the Radnor Township School District liaison to the Board of Health, and especially I want to thank the school district for continuing to provide this sort of liaison. I think it's invaluable to us in working with the school district of this township. Township staff, Manager Zinkowski has been of great support and encouragement to me personally, and I know to everything that the Board of Health has tried to get done. To our Director of Development, Mr. Kachansky, and most of all, and certainly not least, most of all to Larry Taltone, our Township Health Officer, for all he does to make our work easier and more effective in terms of the health of Radnor Township residents and citizens. thank you very much, Mr. Taltone, for all your support over the past years. That concludes my announcements. Mr. Taltone?
Thank you, Mr. Hazen. And before I move forward with my report, I would like to say to you that, I said this privately, I want to say it publicly, that you have been one of the most productive chairmen that I've had the pleasure to work and serve with. I appreciate your direction, and thank you. For the month of, first of all, for the month of November 2013, we did 25 food safety inspections, 8 bathing places inspections, 4 quality of life issues, workplace safety committee. In your packet, you'll find a flyer for November the 20th for immunization skills workshop was at the Delaware County 911 Center. December the 12th, there was free flu shots in Upper Darby Township Municipal Library. We did put these out on the scroll and on our website so that residents would be aware of it during the time that these issues were happening. In your packets, you'll also find an approved meeting schedule for 2014, approved by the Board of Commissioners. Also, the 2013-2014 Delaware County Cold Weather Plan. We also put that information on our website and on our scroll so the residents can know where to get shelter in the very this cold season. And the National Prevention Strategy Plan, which was provided to me by one of the board members. Mr. Chairman, so ends my report.
Thank you. Before I ask for any questions of Mr. Taltone regarding his report, when you have a list of people that you're thanking, there's always the danger that your eye skips over an important name on that list. And I did want to miss Mr. Jim Doling, who is behind the curtain, as it were, providing the telecast of this and every other meeting, and has also been of invaluable support in the recording of the Radnor Health Matters series of programs. Thank you, Mr. Doling. Any questions for Mr. Taltone? Hearing none, we'll move on to old business. Morgan, the first item is the teen health issues. I recall that at our last meeting, you indicated you would have an update for us.
Yes. In the time between the two meetings, we have put out some of the business cards that Dr. Offit has given us, and have also started spreading the word, putting out, we've been working on the flyers, and we have done the 3 positive, negative, and 3 changes as feedback to Dr. Offit. And we have looked into the websites and given feedback on that. And we hope by winter break we're gonna hope to have some announcements going in the morning announcements and on Brad TV. And we are working on that. And we also are going to try to get some Facebook and other social media awareness about Dr. Offit's program and what she does. We also hope to have possibly a survey to see how she could help improve it to access, to be more accessible and also more teen friendly for people in the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dambra. For those of us who may be unfamiliar with Dr. Offit's, and again, Dr. Offit is a former member of this board, could you just briefly describe what her program is?
Dr. Offit's program is a teen health information site where she has a blog as well as a Tumblr and a feed. And on these accounts, she'll post information about certain trends that she hears about, certain problems that she hears about, like drugs or smoking. She did one on teen driving because it was teen driving week or month, I believe. And she posts these information. She shows pictures and stats, as well as has these small polls. And she uses this to kind of try to give teens a place where they can get factual and helpful information about teen health, so that way they don't go on Wikipedia or some other more unreliable site and get bad information, and hopefully can be smarter about teen health.
I just wanted to add that it's all non-commercial, nonprofit. She just volunteers to do it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments about Ms. Damber's report?
I just have a question. I was wondering, the protocol, if Mr. Tautone could put the links to this on the Board of Health website, because she also has a Twitter account, feed, Tumblr, et cetera, so that parents are quite interested, or I hope are interested, and it would be nice if they knew what their children were viewing, or they could actually get the information and be ahead of their kids. That'd be great. Is that possible?
Mr. Tautone, I'm sure will.
Yeah, I'll work with Jim Doling, we'll get that done. If it's
Much.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item. Dr. Donato has formulated some recommendations regarding control of geese in Radnor Township. Thank you, Dr. Donato.
We went over last meeting a number of concerns related to geese in the township, particularly on the sports fields and in some of the common areas like the willows, for example. Just to kind of recap what we talked about last time, some of the concerns from a public health standpoint was harassment of people by the geese, or other interactions with people, and then fecal contamination of the shared areas. And the recommendations that we had come up with based on those issues, which seem to be real issues, we wanted to mainly build on the education aspect of it. That's a large part of what we do on the Board of Health. And that can be through a number of different ways, through the township website about feeding geese and fecal contamination. Also, Amy Wishner had come up with some recommendations about hand washing, which we've included in the, or we have some copies available today, and I think that would be also good to have on our website. Posting signage is another way of helping manage the issue, because feeding is the biggest reason why these geese will stay in one place. When they're fed, no need to go anywhere else. It's a lot more work to do that, so they might as well just stay there and eat what they're given. Plus, that also establishes a flock there at a number of different places, and then other geese that may be going by will also see those geese established there, and they'll come down and live for quite some time instead of following their normal migratory patterns. So one of the things is, again, education, posting signage, very important, education about washing hands. And we also talked a little bit about dog cutouts and great horned owl decoys. Those can be very successful. And we were also talking about creative landscaping, which we put a link in the notes, but there's a lot of interesting ways to landscape to deter geese from setting up camp in certain areas. That may not be feasible in all the locations in the township, but if there's an opportunity to have someone review that, we can identify what landscaping may be best and in what areas. And then finally, one of the last things we were talking about was also, it's a piece of equipment. It's kind of similar to a Zamboni called the Nature Sweep. and that can be used to help clean up fields. And there have been some significant, there has been some significant success with certain townships, certain school districts, where they'll actually have one of these pieces of equipment and manage their own sports fields. So there's a number of different things that can be done, and we can, again, with everybody's okay, submit this to the Board of Commissioners to review. Also, we believe that this should be shared with the school district because they may be able to implement some of these things as well, independently of the township or together with the township.
Thank you, Dr. Donato, for that report. I would ask at this time if there are any, I want to also thank Ms. Wishner and Dr. Humphrey for their contribution to this report. Are there any questions or comments regarding the report?
I just wanted to make one comment. I mean, the thing that I submitted regarding hand washing is, it's a CDC publication that's designed for animal exhibits and sort of petting zoos, so it would need to be modified, but I think relatively little, you know, and it certainly is something good to work from, and the CDC, it's good to have something from the CDC as the basis from which to work. So I just wanted to add that, but I think you did a nice job, Dr. Donato. Thank you for doing it.
Well, who will take charge of modifying the hand washing sheet so that it fits our circumstances?
I mean, I'd be happy to do that. I'm just, you know, I feel like, well, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, should we do that first, or should we just submit it with the idea that there is signage that could be easily developed? You know, and this is an example of something that could be, I'm just not sure it's worth it to sort of work it over now when we don't know if what the commissioners are going to want to do, but.
I agree with that, to get this in the commissioners' hands and let them make the decision as to which of the above they're willing to do, if any, and then go from there.
I also believe there's information coming from the EAC that the commissioners will have as well. So I think it'd be a great idea to give them this. They have the information from the EAC and whatever other sources they're pulling from, and then they can make decisions from that, you know, with all of that information together.
Okay, is there anyone who has any further questions or comments? And then I'll ask for a vote, a motion to approve Dr. Donato's report for submission to the Board of Commissioners. Any other comments? All right, may I have a motion to
Move to approve it.
second? Dr. Foreman has moved to approve the report and submit it to the Board of Commissioners, and Ms. Wishner has seconded it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any contraries? Motion is approved. Commissioner Nagel, since this memorandum is addressed to the Board of Health members, what I will do in the next few days is to recast it as a memorandum from the Board of Health to the Board of Commissioners, and then get it into the Commissioners' hands for consideration at a future meeting.
Yeah, as Dr. Donato mentioned, we had been scheduled for an EAC presentation, but schedule conflicts prevented that from happening. So we'd be looking forward to roll this right together with that and handle it all at one time.
Good. Okay. The next item on our agenda under old business are the recommendations regarding backyard chicken coops. And as I indicated at our last meeting, I had been trying to meet with Township Manager Bob Zinkowski to try to learn more about why this has been held back from submission to the commissioners. To date, as of 4:30 or so, when I went up to his office this afternoon, and he had already gone out for a short while, he will be returning for the commissioners' meeting tonight, but I won't be here to speak with him. But to date, we haven't been able to connect. He's contacted me when I was not in a position to speak with him, and vice versa, so we just haven't connected. I will keep on trying during the remaining days of my term in office, and as soon as I have that information, I will communicate it to the members of the board, and if I don't have that opportunity to speak with him, I will let you know that outcome as well. Thank you. Is there any other old business? Dr. Humphrey.
Just wondering if you want to ask for public comment on any of this, or do you want to wait to the end?
Public comment, we have it on the public comment, we have it on the agenda at the end. Do you wish to speak about the chicken? Is that what you're here for? We might as well fold it in right now, so.
First, about the geese, you should know there is old signage at the Willows Park. One of the things that could easily be done is for it to be upgraded in bright colors so it draws your attention. But there are signs that says, please don't feed the geese, but I don't think anybody looks at them. As to the matter of chickens, I was given a copy of what you're proposing, and I was really hoping that the vet would be here tonight who has the health aspect of chickens, but her practice is very busy, and another woman whose brother has chickens. I know that I think I understand that you're proposing that these chickens live on wire 2 feet off the ground. That's not good for chickens. They get bumblefoot if they're grown on wire, and chickens are supposed to eat insects and bugs and slugs and all good things, and they're not going to get it in the air. The other piece that I'll be discreet about it, I'm fairly incredulous about, is that you would propose that chicken feces be put in sealed plastic bags and put in the landfill. First, we're paying to put good fertilizer in the landfill, and if you have a home compost pile, which I would encourage almost every household to have, they'll heat up to 140 to 160 degrees. So any pathogens that you might get off of 3 chickens, but if you're growing them well, you're not really going to have disease unless there's something very odd, is going to be broken down. And there's no better fertilizer or soil amendment than animal manure. If you've ever driven in Lancaster County in the early spring, you can barely drive down the road because they have limed the fields with pig poop. And it's an acceptable process. Cow manure is excellent. Horse manure, not so good. They like to eat thistles, and they leave them behind. We use cow manure at our garden at Skunk Hollow. We go over to Ardrossan, and we go through their old pile, and it's pretty funny when you see a Prius and a Volkswagen coming back with bags of cow manure. But we dig it into our soil, and it adds to our amendment. So I really am confused as to why you would advocate bagging chicken poop in sealed bags and putting it in the landfill, where we're just filling up the landfill. And so I almost, if those are your 2 conditions, I would almost urge you not to bring it forward, because I think the chicken people, it's just not going to work. It's not conducive for having home chickens. I'm more than aware you're concerned about disease, but if you only have 2, 3, 4 chickens, you're not going to have the concentration of animals that you're going to get disease, particularly if the chickens are inoculated as baby chicks. So I guess that's what I have to say. I think the reason it hasn't gone forward, I can't speak for the Board of Commissioners, but between Ardrossan, Biomed, and Villanova, they've been and a budget, they've been very, very busy. And I think if the chicken issue had come forward to the Board of Commissioners this fall, it would have been a no. there never would have been a discussion. So actually, Bob Zinkowski asked me about it, and I said, let sleeping dogs lie. The township is really embroiled in these really big development issues, and they were going to give very short shrift to chickens, I'm afraid. So we'll be patient. More and more municipalities are saying yes, and in France, actually, to deal with their garbage problem, each household has been given 2 chickens. And that's going to solve all their vegetable garbage issue. It's a rather creative way to handle it. And in New York City, there's going to be mandatory vegetable garbage recycling. So we're off on a new era where you won't just throw it into the landfill because it's a very viable source of methane, which we don't want. So in time, Radnor Township might be the last, but I predict that we'll get chickens in a limited amount. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you for your comments. And any comments on those? Go ahead.
Renee Melvin. Her brother raises chickens, and my sister.
I did want to just address one of the housing issues, keeping on wire. I don't think that was our intent in how we wrote up a brief summary just for the commissioners to take a peek at. So I think our overall goal was to have them elevated, and we reviewed a number of different housing, different types of housing for chickens, and a lot of the really nice ones, which I think we would all love to see. It's in essence a mini house, so to speak, that's elevated, so not to be on wire, just so you know, and then to have a coop where they can, have exercise and get
And they
down
have
on
an
the
exercise on
ground.
the ground.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I think that was the flavor
Okay.
of what we were looking for, and maybe it didn't come across perfectly in the writing.
Right.
But certainly, I know I treat many chickens, and a lot of them will have bumblefoot, which is sores on the feet from being on an inappropriate surface.
Right.
And yeah, that's a very uncomfortable way for them to live. And also then leads to disease
Right,
apart from bumblefoot because they're not happy chickens.
right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments on this issue? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. Anyone have any items?
I
for new-
guess I just wanted to ask a thing about the cardiac care. So where are we with that, and where are we with that?
Well, where we were at the last meeting, we had heard from the president of Bryn Mawr Hospital, Andrea Gilbert. She read into the record a letter co-signed by herself and Jack Lynch, the president of Mainline Health. That letter was included in the minutes of our meeting, and that's where we are. I think we did talk, we asked Ms. Gilbert if she would be willing to come back in the spring, and she indicated that she would.
I might add that the letter represented Phase 1 of their advertising, and Phase 2 will take place in the spring. They disclosed that to us when we were at a separate meeting. As far as I know, there's nothing else that's coming out in between.
Anything else? That was an old business item. Any new business?
I have one more of an update on something that I've been working on with another resident of Radnor, the Radnor Township Canine Unit. I'd mentioned it a while ago. We've raised the funds to have the dogs, the training, their equipment, and now we're working on just their vehicles. So I guess this is indirectly a Board of Health thing with the safety that it will help provide. But, we're moving along quite nicely with that, and we're actually hoping that all of the fundraising is done by February or March. And then they will have some nice vehicles for the officers and the dogs as well, and it seems to be moving in a nice direction. I think this week they start their training with the dogs, and I went to help pick the dogs, which is a really great experience. The Canine Unit of Philadelphia had them brought in, and what an incredible group of people. They really, they do a really nice job, and very impressive. So it'll be great that we have those canines here, because they're going to do a lot of very good things for us.
How many dogs will the township have?
There's 2 officers and 2 dogs, one dog for each officer.
And do we know now what their hours of service will be?
I don't know the exact hours, but I know the officers are going to be required to have extra hours that they do work, because they know they'll have to be, in essence, on call for when we do need a canine unit. So I don't know the specific hours, though.
The plan is that the officer will have their own schedule that they currently have, and the dog will be with them. And then they would be brought in for extra details as necessary, just like we currently do extra details with our other officers.
I guess my question has more to do with the fact that there are 2. And if their shifts coincide or are not at the same time, makes a difference as to how many dogs are deployed at any one time.
You know, my understanding is the chief plans to have only one shift at a time. Now, that may mean they don't, it's 7 days a week, one shift, or it could mean something less than that, 2 shifts. There are limitations on the number of hours the dogs can work.
Dr. Donato, my question is, since this came up at the Board of Health meeting, and there's more fundraising that needs to be done, can we scroll where people could, in the township, contribute to this? Or
I think currently the police officers are, getting the word out. I'm sure we can get it on the website as well.
It's
or
been on the
scroll.
website,
Yep.
it's been on the scroll.
Yep, I thought so.
It's been in
Okay.
the local papers.
Yeah, we've
All the
really
commissioners that have
plastered
emails have put things in their emails about it.
Yeah, we've plastered it all over the place. It's been pretty well received, so it's coming along nicely.
Any further comments of that nature or any additional new business?
I'd like to bring something up. As you know, we're moving forward, hopefully, to be purchasing some open space at Ardrossan. The postulate or projected use of that would be to continue to farm. There are also plans that someday have trails and activities of those nature. Now, as you know, we currently have a organic treatment program that we use pretty much. There is some glycophosphates which have come in front of you that's used for some weed control. I would solicit your help and input to make sure that we move those same organic principles over to this property, assuming that we purchase it. And especially becomes important if we continue to farm it. I really personally would like to see no pesticides or herbicides used, organic fertilizers, integrated pest management, and maybe even no GMOs, but that's a separate topic that needs discussion. So I would certainly, and this is from me, not from the Board of Commissioners, I would personally solicit your input moving forward on that topic.
Thank you. And I'm sure there will be follow-up by the board. I think someone else had flashed a light.
Well, I think we need to, unfortunately, plan for, for officers for once you're not here. And I know at the last meeting, we did present you with a certificate, and, you know, I want to thank you on, you know, behalf of the board for your leadership and also the way you're, you know, have kept track of things and kept everything moving forward, and, you know, we really appreciate that. So thank you very much for your service.
Thank you. And since you referenced, usually our organizational meeting is the first one in January. And I need to make note of the fact that the meeting date described in on our agenda for today is indicated as January 20th. My understanding is that that is in fact Martin Luther King Day, so our meeting will be moved to the following Monday, January 27th, as it is listed in the township's official schedule of meetings of boards and commissions of the Township of Radnor. So again, our next meeting will be on January 27th, 2014 at 5:00 p.m. In this room. And at that time, one of the items of business will be the election of president and vice president for the board.
One thing I just wanted to mention for that meeting is, Morgan, one thing that would be great is if you, I don't know if you're able to do this, but to try and keep track of like what topics are on the announcements, and you said the Radnor Cable TV too, right?
Yes, Rad TV.
So I mean, because that would be interesting. And secondly, just for all of us on the board to be thinking about if there's anything that we would like to see on Radnor Health Matters, you know, think about areas in which you have expertise that you would like to share, or something maybe that in which you don't have expertise but you would like to learn more about, and you know, maybe you have some ideas or would ask the board for ideas of who would be good to have for that.
Thank you. Is there any further public participation? Member of the public? Thank you. All right, hearing none, then this meeting stands adjourned. Thank you all, and happy holidays to one and all.